So,
Okay.
hi everyone. I am here with our amazing guest, Barbara. So, Barbara is going to share a little bit about how she kind of like reversed chronic adrenal fatigue. So, I'll let her speak with you guys about that. Barbara is a recent graduate from our 16-week signature protocol called the Effortless Energy Program. So, this is a program specifically designed to help women on the go, high stress women heal their hormones. So before we kind of get into Barbara's journey, so I just first want to thank you for joining me, Barbara. I'm always really appreciative of the time. We always have great conversations. So before we get into all of that, do you mind just sharing a little bit about like who you are, where you're tuning in from, maybe what you like to do for fun?
So my name is Barbara. I'm 52 and I live in Reno, Nevada in the United States. And I find tons of joy hanging out with my dogs and doing
Me
hikes
and
and
you
walks.
both.
Yeah, we're very much dog people. And I used to be really into snowboarding, hoping to get back into that this winter now that got my gusto back.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay, first of all, 52. I could never believe that. I'm sure people watching is like, what, 52? How do you do it? You obviously work very hard to keep yourself, in shape and keep your health intact. So what I want to know, Barbara, first question for you is before you had kind of started this journey, before you had enrolled in the program, could you walk us through exactly where you were at, what you were experiencing? I know it might be a little hard now because we're like, 5, 6 months out, but try to put yourself back in that, that first time we connected. What were you really going through at that time?
Yeah, okay. So that was like the beginning of this year. And I had spent probably the last 2 years really kind of struggling with like working out a lot and following different diets, this perimenopause, menopause, age, Hashimoto's. Nothing seemed to be working well for me anymore. My body was not responding, and I believe I was working out too hard, pushing myself too hard, and not um living for my own body and myself. And I just had complete burnout, like total burnout, to the point where I had to quit the gym. I could barely function for work. I spent all my weekends in bed. I was feeling like I was like, do I need to go to urgent care? What is wrong with me? I just felt awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something like, you were kind of like doing all these things, you were following different diets and stuff like that. I know you were also seeing other professionals. So can you walk us through a little more detail? Like, what were some of the things you were doing to try to get your energy back?
I mean, I had done like an autoimmune protocol diet. I'd kind of been eating what I thought was that way for years, which was mostly just proteins and vegetables. Um, and then I had actually like signed up for this, I think it was like a 4-week hormone reset diet plan. Um, and I did that while I was still working out, but it was like kind of like a lot of the foods that I wasn't sure I should be eating, and kind of a lot of carbs and more sugar than I was used to. And I have worked with like a functional doctor in the past, is the one who actually diagnosed my Hashimoto's. But as that was 11 years ago, and it just really, as I aged, it wasn't a good fit anymore. And I was just really struggling to find someone that understood my situation, where I am at in life and what my body was doing. Um, and I had a couple of, like free consults online with different programs. I mean, actually, I had quite a few. And I just wasn't ready to bite the bullet with any of them. I just didn't trust them.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we'll talk about that. I think that's like a really important discussion to be had, especially because obviously, the nature of my work is in the online space. This is an online interview. People who are watching this, you ladies, are naturally going to be curious about, is there somebody online that can help me? And trust is a really, really big thing. So before we get into that aspect, just kind of recapping, Miss Barbara over here has got Hashimoto's, questions of, perimenopause, menopause, food sensitivities. Of course, with Hashis, you get the autoimmune involvement, food sensitivities, hormones, digestion. So you kind of have this like umbrella of different systems that are involved, which is why, it can be so hard, like you said, to kind of find a professional who kind of understands that and how to kind of mitigate, like, okay, do we do this first, this second, like what's kind of going on here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can really appreciate that. Another thing that you had mentioned was your body wasn't really responding anymore. So I work with a lot of women like you who are the high, like the hyperachievers when it comes to health. So they'll like order all the tests, they'll take all the supplements, they'll, there's different types of women. So some women are like you. And with women like yourself, I call that like putting in twice the effort for half the result, where it's like you're doing more than maybe your sister or your best friend or whoever's doing. And it's like, okay, well, why is it not working for me? Why has my body stopped responding? So can you speak on that a little bit? Like, what do you feel, what results do you feel like you weren't getting that you should have got based on your efforts?
Well, my fatigue for one was, I mean, I just was like trying everything so hard to the point where I just like had to stop because I was just exhausted. Um, I was I was like getting puffier and bigger and trying harder at the gym. I was like, this is going backwards for me, how I want to look. Um, my face was pretty puffy. I think I had like a lot of, cortisol issues going on. So my a lot of my energy was, I just felt like I was spinning my wheels, really. Like, what am I doing? I look and feel worse than ever, and I'm trying so hard.
Right. Yeah, that's such a like crappy feeling. So you're spinning your wheels and you're like, okay, so now I'm gonna do, talk to different people, do these free consults, kind of see, what could work for me. So my next question for you is what made you decide to bite the bullet with me and our program, Effortless Energy? What made you decide to, take that next step with us?
So I came across you online, and I think watched some of your clips, and then um I know I had reached out or you had posted something about, one of them was um like the body, talking about like where you have weight gain, what hormone that might relate to.
That one. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just thought that was so spot on and interesting, and like the things I need to know,
Okay.
that I had no clue of that. And I just thought, I've never heard this before, and this
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah.
Um, and then I had communicated with you a bit, and you were responsive, and I was going through like what I felt to be a health crisis. And you got online with me and had a little consult with me, before I even signed up for the program, and we kind of had a rapport. And I just found you so helpful and so sincere and so knowledgeable, and just easy to work with. And I was just like, this is the program I'm trying. This is where I want to
I
go.
appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So, um, because again, you'd said you'd learned about other programs too and had met other professionals. So, like, if you were kind of like comparing, one versus the other, either one program versus the other, one professional versus the other, what made you decide to say, like, no, this is the container I want to be in and not those ones?
Um, I just think you were so individualized to me.
Okay.
You weren't like, well, this is my program. This is a cookie cutter thing, like this is what I offer. This is what you're gonna do and hope for the best type thing.
Yeah,
Like
take it or leave it.
it, yeah, like it really was completely individualized.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And I can also appreciate how like when you're in the middle of a health crisis. So if I may share a little bit, like when you contacted me at that time, you're like in bed, like, not functioning.
Unshowered.
I kind of didn't realize that, but like, like just not functioning. And it almost like was strange to me because the way you were communicating with me in like your persona and your languaging and your communication, I was like, this is like a high functioning badass by nature. And now here she is in bed, unable to get up. Like it was like a complete mismatch in my mind. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but it just
No,
like
I
was a complete mismatch to me.
I
So
like that.
yeah, yeah, so I was like, what the hell? And so, for those watching, just to really paint the picture of like Barbara was like in bed, not able to function, completely and 100% burnt out, but still kind of trying to figure it out, which I actually really, really admire because you could have been like, no, I'm just tired and I'm just gonna let this pass, right? But instead you were like, no, I still actually really want to fix this. So I appreciate that. So once you decided to, enter into this customized protocol, like you said, could you share some things that you liked about the approach or liked about working with me?
Oh my gosh, I just think the program is like I still kind of have to, I'm still absorbing it all,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really.
yeah.
It was very immerseful, but yet slow pace. Like healing was happening without me even noticing. It's like you had to like look back at where I was 2 weeks ago to really like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here today. So I thought that the first thing was to watch those videos
Hmm. Hmm.
that you had, which were all completely um like spot on things I needed to know and like wondered about. So I thought all of that, like, so it took a little bit of it was a little overwhelming for me at first when you're like, okay, go through
Video.
this these videos. And but once I get, because I was having a hard time during then starting anything because I was just so overwhelmed. But the minute I clicked on the videos, I was just like, I just kept going because they're not super long and they're informational. And I took notes. I have a whole notebook full of notes
Okay.
from our 4 months together. Really good stuff. And so those videos, and then really starting with the diet because I had tried so many different things and heard so many different things. And oh, you're in perimenopause. What do you this, I just literally had no idea anymore how I was supposed to eat or what I was supposed to eat in order to have a good body shape and healthy functioning.
Yeah. you know what? I'll build on that a bit just because, from on my side, right, as your guys's coach, there are so many girls who start with us that are like, I have no idea what to eat. And it's it's sad, right? Like food is supposed to be enjoyable, it's supposed to be fuel, and it's like, well, if I eat this, am I doing the wrong thing? I don't know. In my opinion, it's really sad. And we really had to build back up, I think, us a healthy relationship with food in terms of even like carbs, right?
Mhm.
Something that's just such an essential macronutrient to be like, okay, well, you can actually have carbs and here's, how to do it for your body. Here are your food sensitivities. It's yeah, unbelievable.
Well, and for me, I had taken so much out of my diet
Right.
for so long because, oh, I have Hashimoto's, you can't have grains, you can't have dairy, you can't, all these no's. Um, and my gut is functioning like so much better now because I have a way bigger variety
Yeah.
of what I'm consuming. Like 50 times more different foods than I was eating before.
Yes, yes. And that variety is like so, so, so important, right? Like we said, it is important to have all food groups, but I think it's hard for women right off the hop who are in the middle of like their burnout crises to be like, okay, what do I do? Because you can't just do everything right away, right? Like you really need that customization and that guidance to kind of slowly build yourself back up. So that's amazing that we are now able to get you to a place where the relationship with food is a lot better. um, you'd mentioned that, once you were in it, this immersive experience, you started getting results and it's like you weren't even really noticing that these like good things were happening for you. So that I'm going to say that just speaks on the name of our protocol, the effortless energy protocol. It's kind of like we call it this
Totally.
effortless state. So once you are in that effortless state, your body actually starts responding to your health efforts once again. You just have to kind of revive your body and get things back in balance. And then the rest should kind of feel effortless and natural. So that's really good. Another question I have for you is could you speak a little bit on the symptoms that have gotten better for you? So what were some of the results that you've had?
So, definitely morning fatigue, like not having any motivation in the morning. Mornings were like I just want to stay in bed, and then when I would like sluggishly get ready for work and then like barely be able to function working wise. And then with your program and all the like creating a healthy morning routine. I am like such a morning person
I know
now.
it's unbelievable. Tell the people what time you're waking up and what the heck you're doing.
My alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning and I'm up by 6 and I'm pretty much out the door by 6:15 with my dogs for an hour walk. Come home, get ready for work, eat my breakfast right when I get back from my walk, get ready for work, and then have my day. And I'm energetic throughout the day. I think like how we worked on my eating, like when do I eat? I didn't even know like when should I be eating became a question, and I just feel fueled throughout the day. I'm excited for my mornings. I love them. I am tired in the evening, but it's evening and I get up early, and um so I and now I've added in like going back to the gym
Right,
a couple
right.
weeks into that, and it's not killing me and it's like motivating me. And um so like I also a big piece is I literally had zero resiliency.
Mm,
Like something didn't go the right way, and I just like had no ability to cope.
Yeah.
And I'm usually a very chill, laid back, go with the flow, and that had all stopped, and I was not myself anymore. um and through the morning routines and all the tools that I've learned about, like the nervous system exercises and um breathing, and just kind of getting letting your body know what it's going to be doing
Mm.
sort of for the day.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm so much more calm, so much more energy. I can Something out of the blue comes up and it's not like, oh, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do?
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Um,
I'm back to like going with the flow, and something comes up, I'm like, well, I can help out, like
I
before
can
I'm
handle
like,
this.
oh
Yeah.
gosh, don't ask me.
Right, right. And which is like a telltale sign of burnout, right? Like you just don't have the bandwidth to
Yeah,
take on things. And so it's really nice that, now you're able to actually, whatever it means for you, whether that's be a helping hand or go out with the dogs more or enjoy a little more time in the morning, like essentially more energy frees up time.
yeah,
So
totally.
really amazing. So, and so you had mentioned a couple of the things that were helpful, like, morning routines, nervous system reset, but just to kind of paint the picture for those of you guys watching, there's other things that go into it too. There's, individualized supplements, lab interpretations, the diet, the lifestyle reprogramming. So all of those things. And if you're listening to Barb and you're like, well, that's great for Barb, but that's never going to be me because I'm not a morning person. And like, don't hate on it because Barb was exactly where you might be
Oh,
right now, right?
yeah. Like I don't think I've ever been a morning person in my life. Like I've never, and now I am. I just am.
It's kind of because it's totally unrelated. I just realized that so my name in Farsi actually means morning, like early morning, like dawn. And it's
Huh.
crazy how many girls actually say they have more morning energy after working with me. I'm just kind of putting that together. Okay, sorry, completely
You're
random.
putting out that morning energy.
So I figured that out today. That's so cool. Okay, so um to kind of recap these results, right? Like the biggest results that you've experienced, I had written them down. So better morning energy and energy overall, getting yourself back in the gym, which is freaking huge. And you're getting compliments left, right, and center now, which is beautiful. And then better resiliency, specifically, we can say stress resiliency.
Yes, for sure.
I love it. Just out of
I,
curiosity, like what do you think was the biggest piece that helped you with the stress resiliency?
I don't know really. It's almost like it's like mind blowing to me. It's almost like slowly through the program, I just had a full body reset.
Ooh, love.
Um, and I just like feel okay now. Like, yeah, I mean, I think also the weekly check-ins with you, is was so helpful for me to just know, like, if I had questions, like that's huge, because how often do you get to talk to like a medical provider every week when you're going through a health crisis? And I mean, that was huge, like having your support, your knowledge, and being able to ask you questions, you having advice. That alone was so comforting. And just, trying something new
Yeah.
was good. And then just I liked all the supplements, and it wasn't like, oh, here's $1,000 worth of supplements you have to buy. It was like, oh, here's one or two, maybe try this. It wasn't, like that broke the bank or anything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and speaking of break the bank and like you had mentioned like the touch point and like you're right, like speaking to somebody, weekly consistently having that we call it, when I talk about my program, I call it on demand access pretty much where it's like if you have a question, message.
Mhm.
Whether it's, me as the protocol creator or we have coaches that work with us, accountability coaches. We love to be very responsive because we know that the most significant health changes that our clients are going to make are the ones that happen in the day to day, in the in between, right? And when you guys don't have support during that time, that can make or break it. So I'm glad you had mentioned that. Is there anything else, before I get to my final question for you, is there anything else you want to mention in terms of like results or how your life has kind of changed now for the better, or have we kind of covered that?
Well, I would say, let's see. I do want to say like I used to worry about my digestion like so much, and now it's almost like I don't really have to think about it most of the time. Like it's just going well, which is fantastic. Um and then I mean, my whole mood is better. I mean, I just feel like a human again. And I want to say, like, before I started your program, I mean, I had gone to urgent care, I'd gone to my doctor, I'd gone to the emergency room, spent hours there. They're like, "You're fine." I don't know, "You're fine." I'm like, "I'm not fine." And in the beginning, I mean, I was writing pages on Messenger to you all, like this weird thing's happening, and I'm like, she probably thinks I'm crazy, but you were, it's
Never.
like,
No,
it was part of it, and it was great.
never. And it's actually crazy that you reminded me of that. I'm like, oh yeah. I can't believe we were once at the point where it was like that dramatic, like that intense or dramatic. I don't know what you want to say. It's like serious crises. But no, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's calmed down so much.
Yeah. And then that really tapered off because I was like feeling better. And I just also like I have learned so much about myself. Like that is I feel more connected to myself as a human. I think that this time in my life and like a lot of other women's lives probably are struggling in these late 40s, early 50s. Um, it's like I don't know. I've lived for other people and just gone with the flow. And now it's like when that all crashed, and now I've really learned I'm learning who I am and what I need to do for myself so that I can be there for myself first and other people because you can't be there for other people if you're crashed.
It
So
was your turn, pretty much. It's like this is my
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like literally got goosebumps when you said that because that's what burnout recovery really is, right? It's like finding yourself again after like you feel like you don't even know who you are anymore and you've kind of lost
yeah.
with yourself. It's really reconnecting with yourself. And that's why, some of the coaching topics and things like that that we do outside of your standard, like what diet do I eat? What supplement do I take? There's so much that goes into it. There's the mental, there's the emotional, there's the spiritual. So I'm really glad for you, Barbara. I'm so
Me too.
happy.
Me too. I've
Yeah.
loved it. I've absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. You deserved it. Like we said, it was your turn. Every woman goes through those times in her life where she really needs to recenter and just focus on herself. And those 16 weeks, those 4 months, like it was your turn. You deserved that. And I'm so happy that by the end of it all, you took away from it. And I'm happy that it meant as much to you as it did to me because you were such a pleasure to work with. I love
Thank
working
you.
with women like you because, like, I'd said this to you before, so you know this already, but it's like every single week when we had, hopped on a call, you came in with like the same energy of wanting to learn, wanting to get better. There wasn't a week through the 16 weeks where we met and you're like, well, I don't know, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you always
Yeah.
had this enthusiasm to kind of be better. Which, speaking of always being better, you've chosen to continue working with us into the next step. We call it the optimization project. So that's where you are now, where you're kind of like, I'm in a really good place and I just want to further optimize. I still have goals that I want to work on, regardless of, feeling better. So I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing your journey. I'm sure it's going to help somebody out there. And
I hope so. I think you're amazing. I truly think you're amazing. And I think this program is put together so well. I mean, I think you do such a really good job.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're honestly, it's always going to be a work in progress. Like I'm always constantly trying to make it better. So, yeah, I mean, for those of you guys who had listened up until this point, so glad. My last question for you, Barbara, is what would you say to anybody who is on the fence about, healing, whether that's through our program or through another source? What would you say to anybody who's on the fence about starting?
Well, I would say, like, if you're looking at different programs, that this program is so completely individualized that I don't know how it couldn't help you. Like, so give it a
I love
try.
Yeah, it's like, how can it not work?
How can it not work? Your knowledge and patience. I mean, like, oh my gosh, my own doctor was annoyed with me. Like, and you just, your program was very thoughtful and supportive, and I think you're wonderful to work with, and like the group, that some of the group things we've done are so fun
Yeah.
and so interesting.
Mhm.
Um, I just think you have that personal touch that other programs didn't.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much for sharing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I'll just kind of close it off by saying that if there are any of you who have watched who are kind of curious about learning more, like Barbara said, we do offer free hormone audits. So I'll leave a link. You can book a hormone audit if you're interested in like, what are my hormones doing? How can I heal? Chatting with me personally and seeing if, this effortless protocol is something that is right for you. It doesn't hurt to learn and ask questions. So, again, thank you so much, Barbara, and we'll chat
You
later.
bet. Okay. Bye.